Welcome to The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, AM 1430, 810, FM 94.1, and live on the web at ESPNBlacksburg.com.
It's The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, and a good Wednesday evening to all of you. My name is Paul Van Wagoner, that guy, Bayroy. Taking your calls, 961-1430. If you want to text us, it's 866-961-1430. 866-961-1430. World-renowned river dancer Jason Stamm joining us today from not only the river dance videos, but also the VTZone and Scouts.com. How are you?
I'm good, Paul. It's always good to take off my dancing shoes for a few minutes to talk to you guys.
I bet your feet get a little bit sore doing that. That's some serious stomping, dancing activity there. Do you even know the reference of river dance? Are you?
No, I remember seeing the commercials back. It's been a few years, but the late night. I don't know if you watched a lot of late night infomercials.
Oh, yeah.
But I know there were a few infomercials in there too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, I know exactly. Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, so last week, I want to get right into this because this last week was huge for Hokie recruiting. Tons of big commits. I want to ask you, you can't say Devin Hunter because that's the easiest one out of all. Biggest get for Virginia Tech last week, not named Devin Hunter, was who?
Dylan Rivers.
Okay.
I mean, Rivers, I would say, to anybody who's really been following him, I don't think it's a huge surprise. This is a kid. I don't know if we've talked about him much on here, Paul, but Virginia Tech has recruited this kid since he was a freshman. I mean, Aaron Moorhead recruited him back in, 2014, I guess it was. And so there's been a lot of connection there and a lot of communication for quite a while, dating back to the previous staff.
Right.
Torian Gray took over when Aaron Moorhead left. When Torian left last year, Bud Foster took over. There's a lot of, communication and knowing each other on both sides. It was kind of a surprise when Dylan committed to Penn State in, I guess it was November of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he'd been to Virginia Tech so many times. Over the last year, I know at least 4 or 5 times that Dylan has been to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
A couple of those were he tried to keep him under the radar. There was a time he visited for the Georgia Tech game. I know Dylan. I've talked to him so many times. He knows who I am. He was putting his hand over his face to try to, be secretive, I guess you could say. I got a good shot of him going up the steps. But
okay.
That's what I mean. There was a lot kind of going on. I know he didn't want out there,
right?
But it's been going on for quite a while now. He took his official in December. But this is a kid, Paul, who, I don't know if he's going to slide in right away and be a starter. He's not quite up to Devin Hunter's status.
Right.
But this is a kid who I think could probably be a 3-year starter at minimum. Great range. I think he could play inside or outside. He's one of those guys that's good in coverage. He's good, stacking the box against the run. Moves. He's got great hips, even is what I know one of our analysts who's seen him, Michael Clark, was telling me. One of the things that stuck out to him. I mean, as a linebacker, you got to be able to swivel because there's so much going on all the way around you. You're going to be able to charge forward, go side to side, step back in coverage. You got to be able to do a lot, and so you really got to keep not only your head on a swivel, your body needs to be on a swivel. And I think Dylan has done that exceedingly well. He's going to come in and I think compete for time. I don't know if he's going to jump up quite. Up to starter status yet. I mean, he's got Tremaine Edmonds and a couple of guys in front of him.
Right.
But this is a guy who I think really can play a huge role down the stretch and is exactly the kind of guy that Virginia Tech needs at linebacker to replenish that spot.
Right.
Again, Tremaine's going to be a junior, and there's no telling. I mean, this time next year we could be talking about Tremaine going for the NFL. So to have a guy like Dylan Rivers back learning underneath him and getting some experience in practice, I think, is really going to pay off here in a couple of years.
Well, and it's interesting you said that because the note that I just wrote to myself to talk to you about was the fact that what he does is he adds instant depth to a linebacking crew where, luckily this year, they didn't have any injury issues, so the depth wasn't a concern, but early on in the season, when you looked at that crew, I mean, when you got beyond the starting 3, there were some questions about who possibly, heaven forbid, if something happened to Matua Puaka, would be able to step in and play that middle linebacker position. He gives them some depth right away.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've got a couple of guys, who have redshirted and younger guys. They've got Emmanuel Belmar, Devontae Beckett, just to name a couple. So there are some guys back there for depth, but they're very, very unproven. So to stick with some unproven guys, I think, was kind of walking the thin line. Between Dylan Rivers and Nathan Proctor, who, Proctor's still not 100% set on Virginia Tech. He's looking at, really, I guess it's Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech right now. Did have an in-home with Pittsburgh. I can't remember if it was last night or not before. I think it was 2 nights ago. But so he's still not 100%. I think Nathan's going to stick with the Hokies. But anyway, with Dylan Rivers, I think you get a kid who, is instantly depth. I mean, you like to maybe possibly redshirt him. If he's not the clear guy, anybody who's not a clear guy, you'd like to redshirt him and only play him in an emergency situation.
Right.
But I think Dylan is going to have a very impactful career when he does see the field.
Does this mean now that Virginia Tech can take their foot off the gas with a kid like maybe a Brad Johnson, because you got Proctor on kind of the soft verbal, Rivers is committed? Do you take your foot off the gas with a guy like Brad Johnson, or do you keep on rolling? Because, I mean, let's face it, Johnson, Proctor, Rivers as a linebacking trio in about 3 years is scary good.
Well, at this point, Paul, I mean, they've got 4 spots left. They're looking at taking, that would make 30 in the class, and we've broken this down on our site as far as how they can make those numbers work, but they're going to make the numbers work, and they're definitely going to take 3, possibly 4 more guys. So at this point, there's a couple of needs, offensive line being the biggest one, and Mekhi Becton, and we've talked about for such a long time now being still the top target at offensive line. But really, at this point, you start taking best available. So if that's Brad Johnson, I think you could possibly move him to – he's somebody who could play linebacker. He could play in. Maybe you bulk him up and even stick him inside based on need.
Right.
So, if they can still get a guy like Brad Johnson, I think Brad's very well leaning towards South Carolina and has for quite a while now. So Tennessee's still in there also. But I don't think the odds are real great for Virginia Tech. But as far as taking your foot off the gas, absolutely not. I mean, you're a week away from signing day now. You want to finish this class strong. I mean, they're on an incredible roll right now with the weekend they just had. But you don't want to let up and not finish strong. You want to, keep that momentum going, finish this class, and then go into 2018 strong.
I'm looking at the latest recruiting rankings, and you guys right now, I believe, have Virginia Tech at number 18. Some sites have them at 20, 32, 26. Do you agree with that 18 ranking, and did they jump up because of last weekend and what happened with all of the guys signing over the last 5 days?
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually, and these change all the time, Paul. We've got them right now tied for 15th.
Okay.
This changes. Our rankings are up to the minute. As soon as there's a commitment that's been entered in the system, they instantly update. So you've got all kinds of teams that are still, again, trying to finish strong. So you're going to have a lot of teams passing each other and getting past. There's going to be a lot of movement over the next week. And even there's usually a couple of days after that, there may be a couple of guys who sign a couple of days later. They don't have to sign on National Signing Day. It's just that's when everybody would like to have everything done. That's when everybody likes to publicize who their commitments are. You want to have everybody on, sewed up, but that's not always the case. Demetrius Robertson, I guess, was a perfect example last year. He waited weeks after signing day before he finally, landed on his decision. But I think right now they're definitely a top 25 class, and Dylan Rivers makes them that. And honestly, I thought for the longest time he was going to flip, but as it got closer and closer to signing day, it just seemed, less likely. It was still very likely, but a little less so. So I wasn't sure if they were going to get up to that top 25 spot. Barring a huge miss on all these guys they got left on the board, they're going to be a top 25 class, possibly top 20. You close on a guy like Tywan Garbett, that's definitely going to jump up. But again, you just have to keep in mind that all these other schools are still filling needs also. Yeah. So still got a lot of room to go up or down over the next week. But they've really, really made a very big jump over the last week or more. Right now they're the number 2 class in the ACC, right behind Florida State.
Wow. Did Hunter's signing on Friday have a major effect on guys like Watts, Rivers, and Porsche signing? And do we see that? Does that big domino, so to speak, have to fall, and then all of a sudden the other, maybe not quite as big, but still pretty major pieces of the domino puzzle start to fall after that?
I don't think that Hunter had any effect, really. I mean, I'm not saying it was zero effect.
Right.
I don't think he had much of an effect on the other three over the weekend. I think he is going to have some effect on Mekhi Becton because he's showing Mekhi that, hey, the top guys in state can stay in state. Well, you don't have to go out of state. But other than that, I think the biggest effect that Hunter's going to have are guys in 2018, 2019, these next few classes. You've got Taraja Mitchell, Ricky Slade, some of these bigger guys that are in state for 2018. I think that's where you're going to see the biggest difference. Taraja Mitchell even, I tweeted right after, Hunter made his decision about, how big that was that he stayed in state, went to Virginia Tech. So it's definitely getting noticed. But I think it's going to have the bigger effect, more long-term effect of some of these younger guys for the next couple of classes.
I know you mentioned Mekhi Becton because of the need at offensive tackle, but as I look at the VT zone right now, you guys have guys like Brad Stewart, Amir Speed. We mentioned Tywan Garbett already. We already talked about Brad Johnson and others still uncommitted. Do you expect any of those pieces to fall? And a guy like Brad Stewart, the cornerback, he's a 4-star. Is there potential for him to come to Virginia Tech still?
No, I think the ship has sailed with Brad Stewart. He's looking at probably either Arizona State or staying in the SEC. Florida has been the favorite there for quite some time. Amir Speed, I think they were looking good for the longest time, but I know they've lost a lot of ground. Georgia seems to be the overwhelming favorite there.
Okay.
And he could commit to Georgia as soon as Friday. So they've still got a shot with Amir. I know they've been down to visit with him, but I think the big odds are favoring Georgia right now. Jameis Williams was a guy that I think if Georgia had gotten, it would increase the chances of Virginia Tech getting him just because of numbers with Georgia. But it's not looking like Jameis is going to flip from South Carolina. So I think Amir Speed's probably going to end up more likely at Georgia. As far as finishing out the class, you mentioned Mekhi Becton. Bryson Spees is right there as far as if Mekhi doesn't work. I know they're going to really hit him hard if he doesn't work. Of course, Mekhi is waiting until signing day, so we're going to have to sweat that one out and see if how long they can wait to see if they can still get Mekhi. You got Daz Newsome, Zion DeBose, Victor DiMakiji. So there's still some targets out there. And again, Tywan Garbett is going to announce on Friday. At 5:00 at his school, so we'll know then it's going to be either Pittsburgh or Virginia Tech. I would say 90% he's probably going to be at Virginia Tech. Very, very strong odds there, but finishing out the class strong. I mean, there's still a few guys on the board they'd like to kind of finish up with.
You mentioned Mekhi Becton. I think wasn't Jim Harbaugh at his basketball game yesterday?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, Michigan State. There's been a few. Michigan's the big one. It's Michigan State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. That's kind of the main ones. Oregon has come in here late. They've at least, given him a good impression. He's supposed to visit there this weekend. We'll see if he sticks with that visit. Again, visited Virginia Tech this past weekend. So, looking at about 5 right there that are still involved with him. Louisville also is coming kind of late. So I guess 6 if you count, Louisville, Michigan State. But I don't know. I think Virginia Tech has gained a lot of ground. I think Hunter definitely helps with him, but he's still, I think, really too early, too close to call. I don't think you can really say which one he's going to right now. I thought UVA for the longest time, and I think he's lessened up on that quite a bit.
Wow, okay.
Between the 5 or 6 still involved, I think it's still too early to call.
National Signing Day is just a couple of days away. Do you guys have anything big planned for National Signing Day?
Well, we'll be doing this. Will be my 5th year that I've done this. Obviously first year at the VT Zone, but I'll be up at 6 a.m. doing a live chat. Throughout the morning, we'll be got all kinds of Twitter feeds that'll be involved and included in that. So it's a great way to keep up on everything going on from a lot of different angles. We'll be, I'll be texting and working the phones, calling coaches, calling players, getting everything that everybody needs to kind of keep up to date on what's going on, when guys are signing. Even the commits for Virginia Tech, you'll know exactly when they're expected to sign, when their letter of intent comes through, even before Virginia Tech's official account tweets it out. You'll know exactly when to expect it, and then we'll have there's a press conference that afternoon where we'll kind of wrap everything up and hopefully have everything to bed by then. And Justin Fuente can comment on everything. I'll have a full video of that. But, yeah, tons of coverage all day. And even on the Scout Network, our national team does a great job of keeping tabs on everybody coast to coast, what's going on, where they're going, where they're leaning, all that stuff. It's all it is a great way to keep up with everything on Scout. We've actually got a signing day headquarters right now to really keep tabs on everything also.
Now, if I sign up for the VT Zone, do I get the whole Scout Network, or do I got to pick and choose my schools individually?
Well, you can sign up. We have a really cool app. I don't know if you got it, Paul, but you can pick out what teams you want, what teams you want to follow, and get live instant alerts through the app for whatever schools. I don't think there's a maximum number of schools you can pick. So you can. I know on my phone I've got about 3, so you can get all kinds of updates from all those schools. And with a subscription, you obviously get access to our board on the VT Zone, but you get the whole kit and caboodle with the whole Scout Network. So it's a pretty cool deal.
Keep talking. I'm looking for the. Is it under Scout or is it under the VT Zone?
You talking about the app?
Yeah.
I believe it's. It's just. I should be just Scout in the App Store.
All right, hold on just a second. I'm looking for this. I'm gonna probably. I got Boy Scouts. Is it available on the Android system?
I'm sure. I know it should be on Android. I know it's on iPhone, but you're missing out if you're not on iPhone, Paul. I'm going to go and tell you that right off the bat.
Come on. I see another.
I want FaceTime, man.
I see another company that you used to work for that has an app that's available to me. Well, all right, I'll keep looking. You got to do the same for me. 6 days, 6 hours, 40 minutes, and 33 seconds away from National Signing Day. Jason Stamm and his crew will have everything for you on National Signing Day. I believe that is on Wednesday the 1st. That's normally when we get together. He might be a little punchy and probably pretty tired, but at 5 o'clock, dude, I gotta have you, man. You be there for me?
Oh, you got it, Paul.
All right, I'll
be driving. I'll be on the road. I'll be heading up to Charlottesville for the UVA Tech game that night. But you got it, man. I wouldn't be talking with anybody else at 5 but you.
I appreciate it. I will talk to you next week, National Signing Day. Looking forward to going through this whole class. This is going to be a big one for the Hokies. I got a feeling. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Jason.
All right, thanks, Paul.
There you go, Jason Stamm, the VT Zone, Scout.com.